Now, a backlog of eviction cases is beginning to move through the court system as millions of Americans who had counted on federal aid and eviction moratoriums to stay in their homes now fear being thrown out. A crisis among renters is expected to deepen this month as the enhanced unemployment benefits that have kept many afloat run out at the end of July. We're talking about the $1,200 per adult stimulus payment that has supported households early in the crisis becomes a distant memory. Experts are warning that judges' efforts to limit access to courtrooms or hold hearings online because of COVID-19 could increasingly leave elderly or poor renters at a disadvantage. Of the 110 million Americans living in rental households, 20% are at risk of eviction by September 30th, only a few months away. According to an analyst by the COVID-19 Eviction Defense Project, a Colorado-based community group, African Americans and Hispanic renters are expected to be the hardest hit.
Now, without strict enforcement of the law, housing advocates say millions of people could be illegally evicted. Quote, the moratoriums are a temporary remedy that could lead to a bigger problem for renters asked to quickly catch up on missed payments when the bans lift, said David Dworkin, president of the National Housing Conference, which has called for the creation of a larger scaled rental assistance program. Quote, this is a once in a 100-year pandemic. It is not unreasonable to expect the government to cover lost rental income, he said. Without a rental assistance program, some communities could find themselves in the uncomfortable position of having local police enforcing eviction orders in black and brown neighborhoods after following weeks of protest following the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, he said.
This is going to be all bad.
This will be an uproar if
Yes.
this takes place.
If the police come in and they're pulling people from their homes, this is going to be really bad.
Anarchy. I mean, and where have I heard this before? Police coming into homes and pulling people out.
Yeah. We know what that leads to
Poland,
sometimes.
anybody? Like you guys, and we see who's running the country right now and his views on them. And it's just one of these situations where there's over 20 million unemployed Americans right now who are waiting, who are July 31st is the end of the $600
They can't pay their rent. Yes.
They can't pay their, they can't pay their rent. We already have these moratoriums they have to worry about. Now, in addition, because moratorium means it's a temporary stay, you're going to have to pay that money eventually.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But now they're going to stop the extra payments and the moratoriums want to end.
Why
You're
put that
setting
on
people
you,
up for
man?
failure. Like, why even do
You
that
really,
to humans?
really are, man. And I'm going to tell you right this, man. Unemployment's pretty much at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20
And
million
let's take
right
you
now.
back when I'm 5, and I used to ask my grandmother or my mom, like, if we make our own money here, why are we always suffering? Why is there like upper class, middle class, lower class? Look, we're in the land of the free. So I feel like this right now, you should not be taxing these people for rent. We need to try and get ahead and not continue to fall behind because it's only going to get worse in these streets, man.
It's going to get worse because when time is up to pay the money, guess what? They're not going to have it at all. They're not. We know that.
We can't have people out here homeless, especially this is happening in urban communities. Dragging people out of their homes is just ridiculous. You want homeless people to be outside, families. I mean, just think about the elder. I mean, all of this is just ridiculous.
You're right, Bree. Especially the elderly and those with, different types of handicaps and accessibilities.
Right.
Are you going to drag these people out too? Like, it really saddens me and it sickens me, man, because we are not showing love for our fellow men in the midst of a global pandemic.
No, you know what, too? To touch on that, Kane, also, too, it disgusts me because we are paying attention more to the house and these buildings than the families that live
It's
inside
all
them.
about the green.
Right.
That's the color that we care about,
But
unfortunately.
it shouldn't be about that. And then where we're going to put the furniture and everything, too, right? I mean, in our city, when we go
throw
down
it
the
out
street,
there.
seriously, when we
That's
go
a
down the
very
street,
serious
we see
question.
enough homeless people on the street right now. And we can't even walk down the block in some places, which is very, very sad.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do when you put these people out? What about those neighborhoods you're putting them out in? Like, we got to figure this out, man. We really do.
And to our people, if you have the money, stop spending it on Jordans and Louis and your hair and your nails. That stuff's not important. Pay the bills.
You're right.
Pay your rent.
A lot of people say they've been coming up the last few months. Hopefully you've been saving that money for the last few months because it could bite you, where. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, if anything, like, the gentleman said, there should be a way. Listen, we know that money as a actual thing is not real.
Yes.
You can print money.
Yes.
Like, it's paper. that has been given a value by a capitalistic society. So we've seen, like, you can literally print money. You can stop. This can be stopped. This does not have to happen. Programs can be created. There's all type of forgiveness and PPP loans that were going to large businesses.
Kane, right now I know people that are struggling, that don't have jobs, that are going to the food banks.
Yeah.
They're going to the food banks to get their food. So, I mean, obviously it shows you they don't have the money.
Yeah, we should be trying to fix this, not just saying, you know what, people, get out your homes, leave, we're going to kick you out. Because who's going to move in them? Because I get it, like, the landlords are like, well, we're not getting our money, we're going to eat too. Okay, but if you kick these people out, who's going to move into the places? Who can afford to do that
right now?
Who's going to afford to move into these places? So just sit and let's wait and let's figure out something that has actual logic. There are ways that we can satisfy everybody, that the landlords can eat, people can stay in their house. Congress has to maybe put together some type of house bill that is like rent forgiveness. You got student loan forgiveness. Why can't there be rent forgiveness?
Yes, that to me
we
is
are
important.
living in unprecedented times right now that we haven't seen since 100 years, since none of us were here.
Let's write a petition. We need a home forgiveness, okay?
A
Rent forgiveness.
Something needs to happen instead of just kicking people out on the streets, because that's not the American way, is it now?
No, absolutely not. Now, the personal protective gear that was in dangerously short supply during the early weeks of COVID-19 in the U.S. is running low again as the virus resumes its rapid spread and the number of hospital patients climbs. A national nursing union is concerned that gear has to be reused. Doctors Association warns that physicians' offices are closed because they can't get masks and other supplies. And Democratic members of Congress are pushing the Trump administration to devise a national strategy to acquire and distribute gear in anticipation of the crisis worsening into the fall. We're 5 months into this, and there's still shortages of gowns, hair covers, shoe covers, masks, and N95 masks, said Deborah Berger, president of National Nurses United, who cited results from a survey of the union's members. They're being doled out, and we're still being told to reuse them.
Now, the American Medical Association wrote to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Vice President Mike Pence, and members of Congress calling for a coordinated national strategy to buy and allocate gear. Although all U.S. states and territories have received some protective gear from FEMA, and Associated Press analysts of the agency's own data found that the amounts varied widely when measured by population and the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases. The AP analysts found that low population, mostly rural states, received the largest FEMA allocations per confirmed case. As of mid-June, for example, Montana had received 1,125 items of protective gear per case, compared with 32 items per case in Massachusetts. In early hotspot states, including California, Iowa, and Nebraska, all of which have seen a surge in confirmed infections, received among the lowest amounts of protective gear from the FEMA per case, according to the AP analysts.
So we see the numbers. So why are the rural areas getting more equipment than some of the hotspots?
We know why, right?
Is it because they're? I'm just saying, is it because they're red states? I don't know.
A lot of these places are flyover states, the rural states, the red states, and a lot of them at first didn't take this seriously. So their cases spiked to just an abnormal level. It went from 0 to 100 real quick because no one followed the mandated masks wearing or anything like that. So it did spike in a lot of rural areas. However, the metropolitan areas are just as important, if not more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, at the end of the day, it just boils down to common sense.
Exactly.
More people, more protective wear. Less people, less protective wear. I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's something called supply and demand.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
definitely
seems to not be happening. And this whole thing, y'all, is so frustrating because it's been mismanaged from Jump Street. You know, with 45 calling it a hoax and firing people and pulling back
the
from
Chinese,
from like the Chinese virus and pulling back from the World Health, the World Health Organization, and just just lying to science, man. And this should not have been what it needs to be. And I think of all the healthcare workers out there who could be experiencing PTSD, man. This is PTSD levels of trauma that these people are seeing. And I'm so sick of seeing these commercials. Healthcare workers work here. Oh, we're so happy. But we're not putting the money where the mouth is. We're not putting these people in positions to win. They're compromising.
Everyday pressure on these healthcare workers out there, the front line, the essential workers that are trying to make it happen in these hospitals that are overcrowded.
You even know a few, CC.
No, I do. I mean, listen, I have a lot of people in my family that are healthcare workers, and it is tiring. I've gotten off the phone with my sister, and at times she's cried because you guys don't understand. They're in these hospitals all day. They have families. They're wearing all this protective wear. It's hot. Imagine working and you're sweating all the time. You're hot. You get frustrated. They're tired.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're tired, but then it makes me mad because there's kids that go out and then have coronavirus parties.
Exactly. Now,
You
that's
know
the
what I'm
problem
saying?
right
To
I've
see
there.
who's
seen it
gonna catch
all
it
over
first.
social
Trying to get
media.
money.
Like, why?
And meanwhile, you got these healthcare workers who are trying to save lives, and they have to save lives with inadequate reused
Exactly.
equipment.
And hope that they don't get COVID-19
Let's
while
do
doing it.
better by
We
our
gotta
people.
do better.
Come on, y'all.
We gotta
Let's
do
do better
better.
by our
Come on,
people.
government.